What's up, guys? How's everyone today?
Yeah, good. Thanks, everyone. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. I'm glad to have you guys here today.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you. Looking forward
Awesome.
to it.
I'm excited to hear all about your project and get the information out to as many people as we can. We'll give a few minutes for people to start trickling in the room, if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. Cheers. Thank you.
Now, who are the members of the team? I want to make sure everybody's unmuted that needs to be unmuted.
So there's myself, Andrew. There's Chris Mim. There's Vlad,
Okay, let me unmute
and
Vlad. Vlad,
Oh,
are you
hello.
able to speak?
Yes, I am. Yes.
All
Thank
right,
you.
good. Let me get Chris unmuted here. So where are you guys all at? What time zone are you guys in? Over in Europe or?
yeah, so we're UK based. So just gone 8 o'clock. I think Crypto Hunter. It's early morning for you in New Zealand.
Oh yeah, it's next day. Jeez.
Yeah, another day.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's crazy once you start getting involved with all different teams in crypto, just to really see how spread out everybody is all around the world.
Yeah, it is crazy. You seem to want to talk to people, and everyone's different time zones, so you need to adjust to so you can speak to people.
Okay, we'll give it to 3:05. It's a weird time of the day. If a lot of people don't show up, I pin these, and plus I post it to my YouTube for over 1,000 viewers, so everybody still gets to watch it and hear it, just at different times.
That's great.
Hey Mike, thanks for hosting us.
Oh,
Awesome
of
to be
course. Hey,
here.
Crypto Hunter, how you doing today?
And not too bad, man. Not too bad. I got an hour before my school run, so
Oh, geez, you're in New Zealand.
Pacific time here. So mostly, as I see, everybody is on UTC, ETS, and great. All the great things happening when I'm asleep.
Hi guys, this is Sandy from India.
Hi, Sandy.
Hello.
How are you,
What's
Mike?
Andy?
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. So how did you guys come together?
Oh, it's been a long story. Basically, I've been introduced to this particular project by a close friend of mine, and so is the found it quite interesting. And I think among all the team members, I am the only one from the community who's here at the moment. Am I right?
Man, pretty much. By the way, hey Cindy, good to see you, man.
Hi, yeah, same here, Crypto. Hunter, how are you? Hi, Chris.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very well. You say?
Yeah, I'm alright, thank you.
Your mic
Trying to
sounds
sort
good.
my audio.
Your mic sounds good, Chris. Sandy, if you could turn your mic up a little bit, I was having trouble hearing you if possible.
Okay. Am I okay now?
That's definitely a little bit better for sure.
Okay.
All right, so we might as well
How,
get started. I'll ask you guys a couple questions, but I'll give you guys the floor because you definitely, I'm sure, as a new project, want to get your message out to as many people as possible, and to have people understand the project. So why don't you guys tell me about Web Reward?
Yeah, I can do that, I guess. Yeah. So I'm the sort of founder of Web Reward. I sort of early last year I started looking at sort of crypto space and sort of getting interested, and then obviously being a software engineer, I quickly started looking at the sort of the capacity of creating our own sort of tokens and in that space. And quite shortly after that, I sort of started coming up with, I guess, some concepts around some of the applications that we're still looking at, which is the tipper and the accumulator, as it were. And then I think in around sort of November time, I then reached out to Chris. And Chris I talked to Chris over a couple of times, and then sort of Chris came interested. So that was basically the sort of start almost of Web Reward. And then from there, we've just sort of gone down that road. We brought in a couple of other people and sort of expanded, obviously, with sort of Vlad, Crypto. We've also got Stockers, but he's unfortunately come down ill today, so won't be with us. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much us. I mean, my sort of background is in software engineering. So I've got about 24 years sort of experience in that space, sort of working from, as an engineer up to sort of leading teams, and also acting on a sort of consultancy basis. So that, I mean, that's pretty much about me, I think. I don't know if you want Chris to cover where he is.
Yeah, let's hear about your background for sure.
Yeah, cool. So so my name's Chris. I've been in the software world for I think about 5 years now. My background is mainly in workflow solutions and e-commerce more recently in the Web 2 space. So one of my interests, I suppose, where my career started, I guess, was in finding more efficient ways to do things. So in workflow solutions, we had a lot of clients who potentially, were doing things very inefficiently via Excel spreadsheets, et cetera, et cetera. Won't go into too much detail, but basically one of my interests in software is how can you create solutions that make things easier for people to do. And I think that's kind of one of the principles behind, the Web Reward in general, but also the utilities of Web Reward is making it just that much easier to interact with crypto in terms of transactions, donations, subscriptions, what have you, but also making it a bit more accessible for people who aren't actually in the crypto space to begin with, which is, I think, one of the big hurdles that we face in Web3 at the moment, is being able to introduce people who know nothing about it or know very little about it. And yeah, that kind of stuff really interests me. So that's kind of where I joined Andrew on this project.
For people that don't know, why don't you explain to people what Web3 is? We hear it thrown around a lot. I'm familiar with it, but some people may not be. It's good to see you guys. Why don't you explain what Web3 is briefly, if whoever wants to take that?
Yeah, I'm happy to explain that. So I think from a very surface level perspective, I think without going into technical detail, I think Web 2, I guess, is the internet as we know it. So that's basically what websites and companies like Facebook that are big central organizations which do something. So I guess in the context of Facebook or Instagram or e-commerce websites, whatever it might be, they all serve a purpose, and they stand up some infrastructure to allow users to do a certain thing. I think what Web3 does, amongst many other things, I think what Web3 does, is a decentralized way of approaching the internet. So instead of having large companies with huge central databases, the internet is effectively run by everyday people, and obviously there's technical reasons for that, and we don't need to go into that too much right now. But I guess for me, one of the things that is a big thing of Web3 is no one owns it. No one owns all the servers and all the equipment, and no one controls, I guess, what it is. And I think that gives people a lot of freedom to create. I don't know if that fully answers your question. Has anyone else got can anyone else chime in on that a bit?
Yeah, I guess it's difficult without remaining sort of going into technical, isn't it? But I guess, like you said there, Web 2 was like that client server sort of world, and sort of crypto is that sort of distributed sort of networks, isn't it? And the ability of the blockchain, I guess, to sort of decentralize that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose.
Go ahead, Brad.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, blockchain is a big one. Obviously, I think it's a word that gets thrown around a lot, and I think a relatively small proportion of the everyday population understands what it means. But I think in terms of the financial space, what Web3 means is you don't have central authorities that control what you can. What that control how much money people have, what you can do with your money, who you can send it to. Whereas Web3 is basically you've given the individuals have the power rather than the large organizations, and I think that's sort of in the financial space it creates some really interesting situations where it becomes a lot easier to make international transactions and things like that. But yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for the explanation. Just because it gets thrown around a lot, and not everybody really fully understands what the concept really is with it. So, what was your motivation for starting Web Rewards? Like, what was like the moment where you're like, what, this is the road that we want to go down? Why did you create this project?
Yeah, so I guess I sort of touched on a little bit of that earlier. So. So I guess when I sort of started looking at crypto, I was interested, started down that route, sort of looking at some of the larger sort of tokens and things like that, doing some investment and sort of getting involved that way. And then quite quickly, I sort of started thinking about how I could sort of solve problems and potential problems that are out there with crypto. I guess that sort of led me down that sort of, I guess, that channel into looking at how, as a software engineer, I could start sort of looking at sort of building sort of tech around sort of crypto, which obviously then led on to, I guess, from my world, which is Web 2, how we could start thinking about how Web 3 could integrate with existing sort of platforms and allow us to, I guess, in a way, make crypto more consumer friendly. And I think that was the sort of general idea that sort of started Web Reward to move forward. And that's when I started then having conversations, because I didn't want to sort of sit on this too long. So I started having conversations with Chris as early as possible around this. So I think that was then where we started thinking about what's the quickest way we can sort of get out some of these ideas we've got and get them onto Web 2 sort of platforms. And I guess that's where the sort of Tipper idea came from originally. And with the Tipper, that's basically an MVP, I guess, allowing us to get onto sites and start having that Web 2 integration. Is there anything else you want to sort of add on that, Chris, or is that?
No, I think that's pretty much mainly covered. I think for me personally, one of the motivations as well is so I spend a lot of time on platforms like YouTube and Twitch and basically a lot of platforms where donation models are becoming increasingly more common.
Right.
With, I guess, sort of the adpocalypse and events like that, which basically have made ad revenue something that's actually not always sustainable anymore. So you see more and more content creators depending on things like donations, etc. And one of the things that bothers me about it is if I want to donate to a given streamer, say I have to make a Twitch account, which I may or may not already have, but I have to make a Twitch account. I have to enter my bank details. And for me, that's, as a software engineer, I already know that's something that can be fairly insecure if they mishandle my data. And also, going through the process of setting up my card, adding my card, buying the Twitch bits, which is their sort of native currency, and then approving that transaction on my phone. It's just a fairly long-winded process, to be honest, in order to get $5 or whatever it might be to my favorite content creator. And same applies for YouTube. And on top of that, YouTube and Twitch and other platforms in general tend to charge the creators fairly hefty fees for that as well.
Yeah.
So for example, Twitch, I think charges like a 30% fee on Twitch bits purchase, basically, which I think is fairly significant because that it's a lot of money potentially for the content creator. And yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Obviously, in the current world, in the Web 2 world, integrating or creating payment solutions are fairly big jobs, and you need a lot of people to do it. And that's why they have to take significant cuts like that. But I think with utilizing blockchain and utilizing things like the Binance Smart Chain, which has really fast transaction times, we can make that system both more cost effective as well as more efficient and a bit easier to use for everyone. And then I guess the cherry on top is how can we make that easy to use for people who aren't necessarily into crypto either.
Well, let me ask you then, as a YouTuber myself, obviously I'm not the largest one out there, but I've only been doing this for a couple months, so the channel's grown really nicely thanks to everybody. Now, let's say I primarily am just on YouTube and I want to kind of get set up with your service. Would I have to go to a completely different platform, or would you be able to integrate that directly into YouTube through my interface? How would that work?
Well, there's varying levels of integration, and I think so. Our plan, at least, is to do this in phases, in stages of integration. So to begin with, the tipper will be a case. In order to integrate the tipper, it'll be a case of copying and pasting a link into the description of your video.
Gotcha.
So in the same way that you've got a Patreon link, you'll have a Web Reward tipper link. And when a given person clicks that link, it'll have your wallet address information, your name, so that they can obviously verify, okay, I'm sending money to Dirty My Crypto. And that's it, basically. It's a case of click the link. It opens a small app that allows you to basically make the donation. So there's not a separate platform as such, but version 1 of it would take you to a separate page.
Gotcha. Now, are the number of coins limited that you're able to receive tips in, or how many different types of tokens are you set up to work with initially?
To begin with, it's Web Reward. So the version 1 MVP of this is to accept payments in Web Reward.
So it's your own native token. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the native token. The second sort of stage of this and the second evolution of this is to integrate fiat transactions, because one of our biggest markets potentially is people who don't necessarily use crypto. So basically what we want to get done fairly soon, it's not MVP, but we want to be able to take card payments, basically, because it lets people use the service without necessarily having to know what crypto is at all. But you on the receiving end will receive in Web Reward, and then obviously earn the reflections on top of what you've earned.
Nice. That's pretty cool. What type of reflections are you talking about with this token? What's your reflection percentage?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to answer that, Andrew?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah. So the fee is 10%. Mm-hmm. Of that 10%, there is a 5% reflection, which goes back out to the community of holders. There's a further 2% which is then paid out to liquidities to support some of the transactions, and then another further 2% which then goes to a buyback and burn wallet as well. And then lastly, there is a 1% contributors fee. Now the contributors fee is something slightly different, whereas what we are hoping to do with the contributors fees is basically reward contributors. So one of those contributors would be, for instance, a publisher. So if a publisher then registers with the tipper, they would automatically then receive contributor fees as well. But also the community as a whole, in terms of the community of investors who hold the token, will also receive contributor fees for sort of helping with building the community and sort of growing the project.
Nice. Let me ask you guys. I'm interested. I'm looking at your subscriber app. If you guys could tell us a little bit about that. You explained the tipper, but how does the subscriber app work?
Yeah. So the subscriber is effectively an extension of the tipper. So where the tipper is a donation with not necessarily any reward attached to it, you're just giving money to your given favorite content creator. The subscriber effectively builds on that donation model and says, as a content creator, if I receive $5 in donation from you per month, then I might give you some behind the scenes content or how it's made kind of videos, or, you know, basically small extras that are offered by content creators for their regular contributors. Obviously, a second extension of that is then to make those donations monthly. So as a given user, I can just set up a monthly $5 donation, well, $5 web reward equivalent donation to my content creator, and they might set up their own tiers of rewards, for example, where the higher the tier, effectively, the higher their monthly donations, the more they might receive in return. It's a model that seems to have worked fairly well in the Web 2 world, I think, where you're still effectively donating, but you're getting a little bit of value added on top. I think Patreon proved that model is something that is doable in the Web 2 world, but we want to introduce a similar concept in the Web 3 world.
Gotcha. Now, I want to ask you guys, because, I mean, you've mentioned Twitch and you've mentioned YouTube, but do you guys have any plans to integrate this into the adult entertainment industry? Because I could kind of see that as being an area where, performers, would be able to utilize this kind of service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something we've discussed internally, and it was also raised at the AMA our previous AMA, because I mean it's potentially a huge source of income, right? For the obviously the content creators, but also there's a lot of high volume of transactions in those kind of sites where you might tip $1 and get something in return, something unspecified or whatever it might be. But yeah, so we've discussed that, and I think the only thing we need to be cautious of when we take that on is making sure that our brand, so to speak, doesn't become adult only. In the same way that I think OnlyFans currently isn't really used for anything else. I know they're trying desperately to make it used for things like cooking videos and whatever, but it's not really working.
They just went too far with the other way of it to kind of bring it back. It seems like.
Yeah, so I think one of the suggestions we've had, which is actually a really good suggestion, is to create a subsidiary of Web Reward when that comes round. So everything underlying, all the technology underneath is Web Reward, but it might have slightly different branding, and it's its own software product basically. Because of smart contracts and because of Web3, that's actually fairly easy to do. But yeah, it's definitely something we're considering. I think it's important. I guess that's another thing about Web3 is because no one owns the processing of transactions as such. I guess it's not really our right in a way to restrict what the subscriber gets used for, basically, or the tipper or whatever it might be. So we want to make sure, obviously, that the brand is managed, but at the same time, we want to keep it open for all use cases.
Gotcha.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
Cool.
do you have any plans of eventually developing your own platform for content creators and different services, or do you always kind of, see yourself as this, as like the tipping service and, stuff like that?
Do you want me to go with that? I can give a bit of a highlight over that. So I think at this point, obviously, our sort of our near future is around the sort of tipper and sort of building out the tipper into the sort of accumulator, and then sort of what comes after that. Well, there are a number of sort of things that we sort of have ideas around. I guess at this stage those are still a bit sort of less clear and more to understand as we go forward. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we are looking for and sort of thinking of new things to come after the tipper. I think some of the ideas that we're looking at is probably around sort of taking the tipper from being a sort of donations platform to maybe becoming something that's more of a fully grown sort of payment platform into the future. I think one of the things we are keen on, I think, like, I know there are some projects out there that started building their own platforms to sort of take over the world, I guess. Well, I think what we're trying to do is slightly go the opposite way, where instead of building a new YouTube, for instance, we integrate with YouTube. Whereas instead of like building a new blogging platform, for instance, we integrate with WordPress, or we integrate with some of the other platforms that are out there. So that's our next phase. But who knows? I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, I guess, going forward into the future.
Yeah,
And obviously, sort of oh yeah, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I guess I maybe worded that question a little weird. I guess what I kind of maybe went is, where did you guys see yourself in maybe like 5 years? Where did you see it, heading?
All right, okay. Yeah, I think like we say, it's around those integrations with existing platforms. I mean, some of these platforms have millions and millions of users, and I think if we can integrate there with like a payment platform, donation platform, and I think working very closely to make sure that sort of everyday consumers that use the web can use our product with very limited understanding of crypto, if that makes sense. Because I think at the moment it's quite a learning curve to get into that crypto space, and I think for us it's about integrating with those platforms and making this as consumer friendly as possible. And I think that's, if we can sort of reach that in the next 5 years, then I think that's a strong position for us to be in.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely the challenge with crypto for sure, is to how to teach the 95% of the population that only knows of Bitcoin or Ethereum, how to kind of educate them to kind of start getting involved in DeFi. So that seems to be the challenge, to get the just a typical person who doesn't really have any background with it whatsoever, who's not involved with IT in any way, that doesn't know anything about it. That seems to be the challenge. What do you guys think?
So I think it sort of goes in a similar way the internet was. In the early days, computers and internet, they were only accessible to a certain number of people, and the average user didn't know that it existed. But now, these days, everybody knows what the internet is, and pretty much everybody knows how to use it. So in the future, having a crypto wallet, you don't, from these days, you don't need to know how the banks work and how the transaction work behind the scenes. You just go to the bank and open an account, and you can pay for your purchases. And in the future, decentralized finance is going to be sort of in a similar way. You would not need to know how it works behind the scenes. So you just go create a wallet, top it up, and you can just start using it without knowing any of the details how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because I'm in my low 40s right now, but as I was in high school in the mid to late 90s, there was maybe like one computer in the whole school that had internet access, and you're right, not everybody understood it. What do you think was the moment with the internet that really crossed it over from just like maybe a few people knowing what it was, or having access to it, really expanding to worldwide? Do you think it was the invention of the smartphone?
Well, yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I know who wants to answer.
So I can start and then probably can add more to it, because I sort of came in sort of later generation, so you may want to add something onto it. But so initially it may have been the cost. Not everybody was able to afford a computer sort of in the 90s, 80s, 90s. And then obviously a lot of things happened with the smartphone, like everybody could carry sort of a computer in their pockets, and access to the internet became so accessible. And again, it's in the 90s and maybe early noughties, the mobile internet was very expensive, so you could only use internet at home, and then smartphones sort of made it accessible to a wider population.
Yeah, I guess for me as well, being slightly older generation, I think there was a number of sort of things that took place. I think obviously the advent of sort of the PCs, and the PCs sort of expanding and getting more powerful over the time, and the sort of expanse with the sort of internet. I remember sort of going online with I think it was something like a 2.4 kilobit per second modem, which took about 25 minutes to dial in, I think. So I think the advent of all these technologies have led us to get to where we are now. And I think obviously the mobile phone plays a big part, but I think also the sort of PCs and the sort of, the strides that Apple made, I guess, getting people from tinkering around with a computer in a workshop or in a garage to having it sat in nearly everybody's home in the world.
So what do you think the moment for crypto will be that kind of crosses it over from just, select few to, being adopted worldwide? Do you think that it has actually happened yet? Or like I'm trying to think of the right way to word this, the catalyst, so to speak. Do you think it's been created yet, or do you think it's something that's going to happen in the future that's going to really bring crypto to the mainstream? And what do you think it could be?
Personally, I think we're yet to see that catalyst, because I think a large part of crypto is still requires you to have an appreciation for the principle and the motivation behind crypto, in order for you to actually get into that world. So a great example is, a lot of people don't trust banks because of the history of financial crashes. Then that might lead someone to looking into what crypto is and decentralized finance, and that not being owned by a single entity, et cetera, which might lead them down a rabbit hole, which eventually plops them into crypto. I guess, there are also sort of more mainstream things like, Dogecoin was a thing and things like that, which I guess encourage people to maybe buy some crypto, but not necessarily use it. And I think a lot of the answers that I've gotten from people in terms of when I've had discussions about crypto and why they're not necessarily using it yet or whatever, is like, well, what's the point? Why should I buy a highly volatile asset like BNB or Ethereum or Bitcoin or something like that when it isn't really providing a benefit to my life? And I think the catalyst is going to be whoever manages to find the solution that makes people think and say like, damn, I need this. I need to use crypto. I need to get into it. I think that's going to be sort of a light bulb moment. I don't know fully what that is going to be yet, but I think if we look at the Web 2 world, I think a good example for me at least was the advent of things like Facebook and MySpace, where before the internet was a repository for information, which as a child that frankly was quite boring. All of a sudden now there was this platform where people were talking to each other, and I was kind of not part of it unless I had a smartphone or an internet connection or something like that. And from that day, I was like, I need a Facebook account. And that's what sort of got me in the internet, right? So I think the moment for crypto is going to be whatever makes people think, damn, I'm missing out by not being part of this. Let me figure it out. Or maybe at the time it's easy enough where people can just hop in and not necessarily have to think about it. Yeah.
I think that's a good. I think that's a good idea. You're right. That platform that really, operates on the blockchain that you really have to feel like you're missing out if you're not a part of, and I think that is going to be a spark. You're right. Just I wonder what it's going to be. I think about the future of crypto, and I know initially, most people thought it was going to be, a payment system. But obviously with the high gas fees of Bitcoin and Ethereum and all, it kind of almost turned into a store of value, digital store of value. And now with the DeFi space, you're having all these projects that are so far away from that original concept. I do wonder what that initial platform may look like, if it is a social media type flat platform that runs completely on crypto, or what it could actually be.
Yeah, I got a bit of feedback there. I sort of think that some of this stuff, I mean, like obviously some of the DeFi spaces and stuff like that are superb. But I think some of the what's the word I'm looking for? That sort of ability to, or that sort of difficulty to enter, I think is one of the concepts that could change crypto. If we can come up, or if someone can come up with that solution to allow your everyday user to be able to jump in, pay some fiat, get some conversion as simple as possible, and then start making some rewards basically by using farming or whatever there is in the DeFi space. I think as soon as we can sort of do that and allow that consumer easy entry, I think that's a start to us getting to the point where crypto could start taking off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken off as that next level, I guess.
Right. Yeah, because I was set to do a video a couple months back, and I was going to do a video on how to purchase a specific token on PancakeSwap. From the very beginning, from opening up a wallet, doing this, doing that, buying your BNB, sending over to here, enabling the contract. And by the time I wrote it out, it was like 20 steps, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
For somebody who doesn't really, have any experience in it. I mean, I can't imagine how overwhelming that is.
Yeah, it's a massive barrier to entry, isn't it? It's huge, and I think it's someone who can resolve that issue is onto a winner.
I think that's one of the I guess that exactly is one of the motivations for one of the next phases of the Tipper being to add fiat transactions, because I think if one of the limitations potentially is if we market ourselves fully as a crypto only platform, then again, anyone who doesn't know anything about crypto will sort of put on their blinders and move on to the next thing, right, because they don't understand it. So if we can integrate fiat transactions in a way that people don't even realize they're using Web3, that at least gives us a starting point. Because if I'm just a regular user who's never really I don't know anything about crypto outside of the fact that Bitcoin is a thing, and I go to your channel, for example, I click the link, it says, okay, do you want to pay with card? Yes. Okay, enter my card details and send you $5. I might not realize that what I've done is actually just made a card payment, which has then been converted to BNB, which has then been converted to Web Reward or whatever it might be, and ended up in your wallet, in your crypto wallet, in a cryptocurrency. But for the end user, it has made no difference, because at the end of the day, they just put in their card details. So I think that's kind of like a nice halfway house to at least begin integrating people into crypto, with basically integrating them without them realizing that they're actually using crypto and starting to use Web3. And it gives you potentially a nice inroad to then say down the line, you might make a fiat transaction and through the Tipper, and then the Tipper might have a little checkbox that says, okay, well, you can either make your transaction and you get charged an extra fee by whatever the fiat payment processor is, or why don't you just buy $10 worth of this coin and you'll have it as if you'll have it as a sort of token, and it'll sit there, and bonus, it'll actually increase in value if you're not using it. I very simplified the process of that, but I think that potentially gives us an avenue to introducing people who are already using the Tipper but still don't know anything about crypto to the world of cryptocurrency, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, and that's some pretty cool stuff that you guys are working on for sure. The one thing we haven't touched on yet, I've heard you mention it, but why don't you explain to everybody what the accumulator is?
Go on that, Chris.
Yeah, can do. So the accumulator is effectively an extension of our token contract. So what most reflection tokens do by default is they tend to reward you in another token of some kind, often a stable coin.
Right.
As obviously, getting a stable coin is quite nice for reward because you don't have to worry about fluctuations in price and so on. What we want to do with the accumulator is basically allow people to split their rewards into different currencies by proportion. So as a user, I might want 25% in BUS$ because I like having a bit of stable coin on the side. I might want to receive 25% of that in web reward because web rewards going up in value, hopefully. And then maybe receive 50%, the remaining 50% in whatever token it might be. For me, a big benefit of that is I personally don't like having to diversify my portfolio. I know it's a good thing, but I'm terrible at it. So I think what the accumulator would give me as a user is basically portfolio diversification for free, and be able to reward you in multiple currencies. You could also do some really weird stuff there and potentially reward yourself with another reflection token in currency. Reward yourself with a different reflection token, and then you're earning reflections on 2 tokens potentially.
Right.
I think it gives people a lot of flexibility in terms of managing their own portfolio without necessarily having to do anything, if that makes sense.
It does, exactly. Because that's what Y5 initially tried to do on their initial contract. They tried to reward people on 5 different tokens, and I know they had some issues, had to do a relaunch of their contract, and they're still not doing that yet. So I know they had some issues with that process. How would a token go about getting listed with you guys to actually be able to be an option for your accumulator?
Well, I mean, I think I think we've got some really good potential partnerships with other tokens already. Tokens that we see the value in, and that we think are genuinely useful to people. I think at the end of the day, what we want to end up with is a situation where people aren't necessarily limited by what we think is a good token to earn rewards in. But obviously that integration will have to happen on some level. So I think to start with, obviously we'll have to start with a fairly small set and then increase that as time goes by. But yeah, do you have anything to add to that, Andrew?
No, I think what it's probably going to be is probably be community led as well during that process. So people who require a specific token, if those numbers, we'll probably reach out and sort of try and integrate that token into the accumulator. Just one thing on the accumulator as well. I guess that original concept was around. You've got the concept of sort of traditional shares where some shares pay a dividend and some shares sort of accumulate in value. And I guess that was the original idea of that accumulator, where we could, if you wanted to take a dividend, then by all means take the dividend. Or however, if you're earlier on in your sort of process of building out your holdings, as it were, then use the accumulator to build up your holdings to a larger level. Does that make sense?
No, it does. You guys have explained, the whole process really flawlessly, and we only have a couple people in here. So does anybody want to unmute and ask any questions? I know we covered a lot of information for sure. Well, let me ask you guys then. Actually, when are you planning on launching?
Sorry.
Go on, mate.
Okay. Launch is currently set for correct me if I'm wrong, 30th of June this year. So that's end of Q2. Yeah, that's the one.
30.
Now,
That's correct.
were you guys launching on Pink Sale?
So initially, we were looking at Pink Sale. Based off community feedback, we pulled away from using Pink Sale
Good
at this
decision.
point. So we're actually in the process of basically going through a number of launch pads. I think there's I think the likes of Apollo, DX Sale. You touched on Y5. They're creating a launch pad,
Right.
and Reflex Finance as well. So we're currently in talks with those guys, and we're hoping to have an answer on our launch pad, hopefully by the end of this week. So fingers crossed, if everything goes well, we should have a partner we're going to use.
Nice. That's good. I wish you guys success. I really do. I definitely think this is, something that can really, integrate a lot of things in a lot of different platforms. And I wish you guys a lot of luck. And I want to thank you guys for, coming on the channel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this video in my chat for all the people who are, just away from the computers right now and at work, and it's, in the middle of the night. And I will also post this to my YouTube channel as well, and I will send you guys a copy of the video over so you can post it in your room for your members as well.
That's great, Mike. Great, Mike. Very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming in to talk with me, and we got a lot of information out there for sure, and I'm excited to hear.
Mike?
And let me know when you figure out what launchpad you're going to do, and we'll see if we can get some of that information out to people for sure.
Brilliant.
Hello,
Thank you very
Mike.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome,
Hello,
guys.
Mike.
Thank you
Just
guys
quickly-
for talking, stopping by, and we'll definitely talk again soon.
Mike?
Cheers.
Mike?
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye. Yeah.
All right, bye, guys. Have a good one.
Never mind.
Andrew, sorry, was somebody speaking? Crypto Hunter, were you saying something?
We were just saying that originally our plan was to narrow down to launchpads that we're happy to launch with, and then we'll probably take it out to the public for them to decide which one we're actually gonna go with.
That's cool, man. That's good. It seems like a lot of people are kind of starting to go away from Pink Sale.
The Pink Sale, the audit and KYC is pretty much useless. Nobody trusts. There is no trust in that. Rugs, scams, you name it, and there are so many potentials out there. We might as well just go with something new and add a bit of maybe a partnership.
Yeah, I actually have a token launching at the end of the month, and we're doing a stealth launch. We're not even going through a launch pad.
No, the good old wankers, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, we got the wankers. We're going to just do a stealth launch and just kind of do it that way. And, I'm thinking that some people are going to start doing that more in the future, because, we all have the knowledge and, a strong enough team to where, we can handle, that kind of stuff. And, what do we need Pink Sale for, Unfortunately, they seem to be the most popular option, but I kind of see that, fading. As more and more, tokens are, coming out with their own launch pads, I think their popularity as the go-to option is going to start fading.
Definitely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, Wi-Fi is doing some
Guys?
pretty cool things too. So, I was a day one holder with them, so I'm still kind of holding with them, and they definitely got some good stuff going with their exchange and now Launchpad, and they definitely got a good team behind them and getting their stuff together for sure.
I'm invested in Wi-Fi myself. Was an investor there since January the 9th, so I'm looking forward to that. See what else is coming up. I think their launchpad, if I'm not wrong, is already done. They're just
Right.
looking at who is going to launch first. So
Exactly.
anticipating that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I was actually going to be making a video on it shortly, but kind of wanted to find out, who was actually going to be the first, token launching on it.
Hello, guys.
Exciting times. Yep.
Hey,
Yeah, Mike, can I ask a question to the team?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is regarding the concept and the utility of the web reward. It quite looks similar to the Evergrow coin and the creator which they are coming out with. So how different is it from the creator? Because even if you're talking about the tipper, and whether it is going to be done in both crypto as well as the fiat, the same thing is being done over there. And our launch would be somewhere around in June end, and they are almost ready with their creator, which can be released anytime now, or maybe a week or 10 days time.
I've been
So
hearing that
how
for
are we
months
going
I,
now.
to? Yeah, so
I
whenever they would be launching up, but that would be certainly before our launch. So how are we going to cope up with that in case if that space is been taken
I
over with?
oh, sorry, Sandy. I Sandy. Sorry. Yeah, I think the core difference between ourselves and Creator is that Creator is a platform that
Right.
I guess that they're expecting everybody to move to and bring their audiences with. Now that's quite a big ask, I guess, to get someone off YouTube onto Creator. Whereas what we're sort of suggesting is stay where you are, but use our tipper on the
But with
sites that you
that,
love with the audiences you have.
even if the creator is coming out with their own platform, but their commission part is quite reasonable. Even if you take up OnlyFans, they take somewhere around 70% or 60%. Rest is given to the content creator. The similar form is for with the other platforms, the YouTube, and whereas creator would be taking up only the 5% of the commission. So there is a vast difference, and the takers would be more for creators. That is exactly what I personally feel. So how are we going to cope up with that in terms of volume is concerned, and inviting up the traffic into our system?
So I don't know if I'm understanding you correctly, but what we're trying to say is that whereas they're expecting everybody to move to Creator, we're saying stay where you are, but use the tipper. So it's a lot less of a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for I guess it's a lot less of a jump to move or to stay where you are and add a button than to move your entire content to a new platform. And I guess what we're trying to say is don't do that. Stay where you are. Your audience is where you are. Why move? We can provide you then with the ability to get donations, to get sort of subscriptions on the platform that you're already on. Does that make sense, Sandy?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, because in case if you see from a customer point of view or the content creators itself, if they have to shell out a good chunk of money to the platform itself, and whereas the other platform is offering up a area where you are asked to give a less amount of
Yeah, see,
money,
this is
then
Sandy.
I
This is
I
apples
would
and oranges difference. I mean, they're not a platform. Web Reward is just another way
yeah, they are
for
not.
people
Yes,
to actually
exactly.
get paid on their existing platform. They're not recreating the wheel of making their own platform. They're just going to give content creators an additional way to collect income from their subs. So it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
the platform that they're on. It's definitely apples to oranges. They're not a competing project at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
The aim is that we Oh, sorry, go on, Mark.
No, I mean what creators trying to do, sounds cool in concept. I mean, they're obviously way behind their timeline. I've been hearing about, Creator coming out since early January, and now we're still in April and it hasn't come out yet. I think they have a pretty tall task ahead of them, trying to migrate, people's whole, fan subscriptions over to, their platform. But, their fees are definitely structured to where it seems like creators will make more money than off of YouTube, who are basically making most of the money off of content creators. So anything that can come out to give content creators an additional option for a stream of income, that's definitely beneficial to us for sure.
Yeah, and provided you're not asked to move out of the platform you're already in.
Yeah. What's up, Irish Grandma Hands? I see you in there. How you doing today?
I'm good. I somehow missed the beginning of this. I'm coming to pick up the kids from school, but as soon as I heard about it, I had to jump in.
Oh man, your microphone's way down.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay. We got Bob in here. Yeah, we got all kinds of people showing up at the end here, but we're gonna be putting this on YouTube for anybody who missed it. For those of you guys who didn't get to hear the whole thing, Web Reward is definitely a awesome project that is going to give content creators on all different platforms another option to get payment both in crypto and in fiat currency. So it's definitely much needed.
Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think it'd be good to get it out there. Obviously, I think it was so. In terms of timeline, the Tipper is going to be one of our launch utilities. So hopefully, as soon as we launch, people will be able to start integrating this into their channels and their socials and stuff. So yeah, really exciting stuff.
Awesome. Well, I know I'll be integrating it into mine as well. So you'll definitely have a customer with me for sure.
Nice one, great stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today, and I will get a copy of this video over to you in just a little bit.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys again
Mike,
soon.
hello, Mike.
Yes,
just
hi.
a moment, please. Yeah, Mike, just check your DM. I had sent you one, so just wanted to inform you that check your DM also, please.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's all.
I will do that.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day.
Bye.
All right, take care, everyone.
Right on, Mike. I'm glad you got a hold of me.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Yeah, it was good. I've been chatting with these guys for a few days, invited them into the Dive Wallet chat, and we've been getting along really well. So we're looking for any kind of collaboration we can get, obviously. And it seems like a nice fit with these Web Reward gentlemen.
Yeah, they're definitely great guys, and they got some good stuff in the works for sure. And it's definitely needed, especially as content creators. You don't make anything, even when you get monetized. Unless you have hundreds of thousands of subs. So, being able to have another option to, get paid is definitely beneficial for a lot of smaller YouTubers, which are 99% of the YouTubers out there.
Yeah. I thought of you immediately because I was like, this guy does a good job in his interviews, and he needs to find a venue that gets him some, sort of recommendation for that.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. It's tough because we always it seems like everybody in our YouTube feeds are always 100,000 subs, 10 million subs, and that's not realistic. Most people aren't. Most people that have YouTube channels are smaller. So
yeah, one day you won't be, bro. Just remember these days.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, these are definitely still the early days for me. It feels like I've been doing this forever. I gotta tell you.
It's been like 2 months.
It's literally been like I made my first video 3 months ago. I think it was April 15th, I think was my first video. But I didn't really start making like a couple follow-up ones until like a couple weeks later. But it just feels like I've been doing this for, 5 years already, just because all the people I've met and interviewed, and just now I got a token.
Yeah, think about how knowledgeable you are on the subject now. No matter what you knew floor. Like just what you've learned from just these experiences of interviewing people with all these amazing projects.
Yeah, I still feel stupid whenever I talk to devs, like Cleo in the chat right now. Whenever I talk to him, I feel pretty stupid. You know, these guys know so much, technical stuff and code, and like I have no background in it whatsoever. So
Well, I mean, you get a grasp for it for what you can. You can't substitute years of training and experience, on the job. But
yeah,
as long as you get a good handle of it, yeah, I found that I just don't answer questions if I don't know. I'll be like, I'll give you
right.
the answer to that. But
And you know what? I have no shame in telling somebody, I do not know the answer to that. But that's the beauty of having a team behind you. You got everybody to bring something different to the table. I'll bring
yeah,
something different to the table that somebody else may not know. So, you think of crypto as maybe just like one person because you think people just launch tokens by themselves, and sure, there are some geniuses who kind of know how to do everything, but for the most part, you need a team behind you to kind of handle all the different stuff that kind of goes with it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Right on, man.
You got a good team with you guys too.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to just see it come together, bro. Like every day, there's some other piece that falls into place, and I'm just blessed for sure.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely
Yeah,
amazing.
you guys are doing good too.
Yeah, we're
That
trying,
Wanker
man.
token's going to take off.
We're getting close to launch, and just with all the different stuff we've had to do over the last couple of weeks, it's just like, man, we're getting there, man. We're almost there. We got about 18 days till launch, so right now we're just worried about
Wow.
building the community for sure. So we're doing a whole bunch of AMAs. We got a dual AMA going on tonight with BUSD Buffet.
Nice.
Yeah, Kevin's a good dude. He's a friend of the channel for sure. I've done a lot of videos on him, and they got some cool stuff that they're working on for sure. And they got a pretty cool object thing that they do with their kitchen to keep their volume up.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing over there.
Yeah, they definitely got some good stuff going on, and you guys are having some good success, and can't wait for your wallet to come out. That's going to really help out a lot of people too. And it seems like a lot of tokens now are starting to get into that security, space.
It's needed, and it's not going to be accomplished by just one project or one team.
No,
It's going to be a whole bunch of us working on it together because, there's very many different ways that people are trying to rip people off or scam you, and the more eyes we have on the watchdog kind of a status, the easier it's going to be for us to police it ourselves without waiting for any kind of moderation from a government form or entity,
Yeah,
so we don't want them involved at all. We want them to stay at arm's length.
Yeah, we definitely do. Like we had Light Cash on last night, and they have a wallet to where if you have to have your wallet turned on in order to accept transactions, and if your wallet's turned off or you put in the numbers wrong, it holds the fund for a certain amount of time and then it sends it back to you, which I think is awesome.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty cool option because you know how it is. If you send something to the wrong address, it's gone.
No, yeah, I think we've all been in that position where we're like, oh wait, did that need a memo?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I remember when I first started in crypto and I was just transferring like Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff from wallet to wallet. I think it was before I was able to purchase on crypto.com. I had some sort of block up or something, and I had to purchase on Coinbase. And I would purchase with fiat on Coinbase, and I would have to transfer it over my crypto.com account. It would take like 40 minutes for the funds to get there, and I would just be freaking out. Like I remember the first time I transferred like $2,000 over, and like a half hour later, it still hadn't showed up. And I'm like, oh my God, did I just lose $2,000? I'm done with crypto.
Yeah, and there's no number to call for customer service. I mean, that's a perfect industry to have, like a 24/7 customer service. Like, you get through it and, hey, I think I lost my money. And they're like, hold on, sir, let me make sure. No, it's going. It's just pending. But rather than that, they should just have a way for you to better monitor that it's taking place. It's just going through the system and being routed through all the proper channels. But
yeah, you're right. I mean, customer service for crypto. Now that's an industry right there. If you could somehow figure that out.
Well, that would be perfect. That would tie in with the project that does vetting, and make sure that the projects are legit in the first place. Because people, that do that would have to be a legit company. They wouldn't be doing it otherwise.
Yeah, I think that vetting is definitely something that needs to be done. I mean, you know, some launch pads do like a little bit of it, but you know, most of them don't do anything.
Yeah, and it's crazy that people that are KYC'd are still finding ways to just not give a shit and then run off with your funds. And you're like, wait, I thought that dude was KYC to somebody. And then you try to contact like Pink Sale or whatever, and they're like, okay, we'll look into it. And they never do anything about releasing the info. Or, I mean, I don't know if they'd be liable if like a mob showed up to some dude's door anyway. So maybe they don't want to.
Yeah, you're right. They don't. There's no accountability, and that's where it needs to start with the launch pads. You know, hopefully, like as people start to migrate away from Pink Sale, you know, these launch pads will definitely have some, you know, stricter, you know, vetting processes of the tokens that they're letting launch on it. Like, yeah, this looks pretty sketchy. We're not going to mess with you guys.
That's what Pat with Apollo is supposed to be doing, is making sure that any project that comes through there and launches is fully vetted. So that's exciting times over there for sure.
Yeah, a couple of them are doing that. DGEM's doing that too.
Nice.
Yeah, but I gotta get going. I'm gonna go pick my kid up. I got my next one at 5 o'clock here. So good of you to stop by, man. I'll post a video if you want to check it out a little bit.
Right on. Hey, when you get a moment in your personal time, look at as a side note, Apollo I think is at their all-time high again. So they're doing some shit right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing some cool things with them for sure. But yeah, man, I'll check them out a little bit deeper.
All right, Mikey.
All right,
Later,
brother.
bro.
Talk to you soon. Later, guys.
Later.